Who's ready to hit a button? Here we go. All right. We good? We good? All right, here we go. We're going live, it seems. I think. I hope. Okay, happening now. There we go. So here we are. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to another edition. Why with the headphones? Why with the headphones? I don't need headphones to talk to y'all. I can't hear you. I don't need to. This is a one-way conversation for the moment, unless you're adding comments to the conversation in the chat below. I see those later, but thanks so much for doing so. Welcome to another edition of Absolutely Caffeinated Employer Brand Breakdown, where I am not actually breaking down all evidence to the contrary. I'm here to break down some employer brands. We do this as a stranger from the external side. Why? Because that's how candidates learn about your employer brand. That's how they evaluate your employer brand. That's how they learn about you and decide, are you worth engaging with, applying to, accepting a job offer from, or no, not so much? What is it going to be? Today we have a company, a very interesting company actually, suggested by Amy Cressy. What might also be interesting is that Amy doesn't work at this company, so I'm not sure why she suggested it other than, thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. Thanks for the suggestion. We're going to talk about Dynamic Aviation. It is a 400 plus company that does some really interesting things. They're based out of Virginia in the US. They've got a really nice career site, a really nice career page, some decent content on LinkedIn. And remember, we're not here to beat anybody up. We're not here to make anybody feel bad. We're not here to pull a full Nelson and go, ha ha. No, it's not about that. This is about identifying the stuff that's working, maybe talk a little bit about why it might be working, and maybe find some things that suggest you could get better. There's ways to elevate what you're using. And I think, not to spoil the show here today, but we're going to find some really good raw materials, and maybe they're not aligned optimally. There, that's a good word, optimally. You could do it better. So with that, let me share my screen so we can take a look at Dynamic Aviation. Screen. There we are. Okay, share. Hey, there we are. Isn't that a pretty plane? That's a pretty plane. Dynamic Aviation is a really interesting company in that, yes, 90-year aviation legacy. They do a lot of things, everything from intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance solutions. They do pest control. They do border patrol. They modify planes. They do oil spill response. This is a really interesting company. Right? This is one of those companies, and I do really love doing this process and this project where I get to learn about companies and entire industries I didn't know existed, right? Obviously someone's got to do this work, but I didn't know there were companies that did it. I'd never heard of these companies. So it's really interesting. Everything from commercial, where they're rebuilding engines and, adding elements to your planes. You can do civil, which is battling wildfires, responding to oil spills, and defense, where you're doing border protection, maritime surveillance, counter IED, electronic attack, and counter narcotics. Who knew? Here we are. So let's take a look at their career site. So we click over here on careers. Now, normally a good hero video, I don't know, let me phrase that one. Normally a hero video, you see what I did there? A hero video like this is incredibly generic. It is people walking down a hall, silently, always silently, maybe going to a whiteboard, seriously, maybe a jovial chuckle. It's just so generic, so boring. So what is this? This is not that. I'm really liking this video. So let me kind of show you and tell you what I'm seeing. You see, and this is a repeating video, it is somebody who is building an engine, repairing an engine. They're screwing a washer or putting a washer in or putting a bolt on or something. Maybe it's a carriage bolt or a lag bolt. I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh, they seem to be applying a rod, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer and I'm not a mechanic. But they're doing it by hand. That guy's nails are dirty. Okay, let me just put that out there. That guy's nails are dirty. This is not the cleanest environment. That is an actual engine. This isn't a stage thing. This isn't stock art. It's nicely shot, but what it's saying is that this thing, this jet engine, which, let's be fair, is big and complicated and the sort of thing that you never, ever, 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 ever want to break down in use. I always think of jet engines as things almost extruded by computers and machines. Like it just exists. It's just perfectly made just like that, because you don't want the human touch to get it in the way, to not quite tighten that nut quite enough or tighten it too much or whatever, have it shear off and not notice it. Here is a video showing the human craftsmanship applied to incredibly complicated mechanical things. And I think It's really doing a great job setting the stage. It's creating a frame through which I see this stuff. This is hand fixed, hand solutions. These are experts. They're not just kind of futzing around like the first year kid at the auto mechanic shop. These people are clearly professionals. They're doing precise precision work. Now, we scroll down a little bit and you know what I'm about to say. You know what I'm about to say. Join our team remains one of the most weak applesauced kind of calls to action here. And that's really what this is. This is a place for a headline. This is a place to truly say why. Set that frame. You've already done a great job of the video. Call it out. Something about craftsmanship, something about people, something about by hand, something about joining a company that gets it right. I don't know what it is. You could do a couple of different versions of it, but join our team is a missed opportunity. That said, if you watch this long enough, you'll notice that this little red doohickey kind of, it's a little animation. It looks like a person drew it. Obviously, it's not. It's a computer. It's whatever. But it reinforces this sense of this is a handmade thing. There's a human touching these things. These are human details that reinforce this idea of craftsmanship, right? Mechanics are not fresh out of school. They're looking for experienced people because this is a place where mucking about ain't gonna cut it. You want to make sure it's done right, which means experience, which means hard-won experience, a calloused hand, a dirty hand doing the work. So I like the little touches. Remember, employer brand isn't about screaming your brand at someone. It is the little touches to show it's not just something we say, it's something we mean because it infests and intersects and it is interwoven amongst every piece of content, everything we do. And tiny touches like this, to me, matter a great deal. They matter a great deal. Now, if it wasn't this dirty hand, kind of video, I wouldn't care as much. But to me, there's a through line. Set me up with a video, more hand touches. You'll also notice a very red, white, and blue pattern here. For those of you who know anything about aviation in the US, that's not surprising. I think I saw a statistic somewhere that says like 80 or 90% of all airline pilots were trained by the military, something insane like that. Do not quote me. That is the wrong number, but the gist is right. People who are around planes have a military background or are at the very least, military adjacent. So having a red, white, and blue color feel here makes sense. Scroll down. Here's more dirty hands. Here's more experienced hands. This guy is not some 12-year-old. That's an older guy hand, right? I know. I got some old hands sometimes. And again, explore job openings could be stronger, but here's this reinforcing it's a person fixing an engine. They're doing hard work. Employee testimonials, I'll tell you right now, these were soft. These were very kind of talking heads, very stiff. They couldn't, there was no kind of movement of the camera. They got some really interesting backgrounds and they didn't insert any B-roll to kind of connect the dots. It was a good idea that didn't quite connect for me. I just thought that to make it more engaging, more exciting, either let that person walk around a little bit while they're maybe touching the aircraft or doing some work. But this kind of stiff talking head in front of a backdrop of something interesting, it didn't work, right? These people are not professional talking heads. They did not come across as exciting and engaged. They came across a little stiff and maybe even a little scared. But let's be fair, that's a lot of testimonial videos. It's hard to pick good subjects for a testimonial video. I'm going to give them points. One dude, one woman, right? And I'm guessing, I'm projecting what I think I'm seeing. So if I'm getting pronouns wrong, I apologize. But I like what is technically a fairly male-centric organization and industry injecting women into the conversation to show that they're not excluding. It's not about, okay, we have 2 videos and 50% of them are women. We're not a 50% woman company per se, but showing that you understand and value a woman's perspective is useful. And that comes into play as we scroll down to this really interesting picture. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planes in various states of taken apartageness. And that's a technical term. Oh, actually, there's another. No, that's an engine. And all the mechanics. And I'm seeing holes in T-shirts. I'm seeing a lot of sunglasses. I'm seeing there's a couple of good beards or a couple of ZZ Top winning beards, right? You got a guy in the back who's doing the double bunny ears to his friends. It's a good photo. It comes across friendly. There is exactly, as far as I can tell, one woman in it. Now, I'm not going to say that they need to go find women. They don't manufacture that. But it is something, as a candidate, I'm going to look at. And I'm going to say, oh, maybe they're not as diverse as I want them to be. I'm not saying they have to be. I'm not saying they should be. I'm just saying this is what I'm getting off this page. And in fact, I'll tell you, It wasn't until very recently I even noticed the woman, and she's the woman in that video. So it's just a thing to note. So as the brand is coming across, you've got a lot of hand honed, hand woven, kind of like made by hand craftsmanship kind of stories, which is great. Singular focus. That is a, whoa, where did I go? I went to the wrong place. I did not want to go here yet. Oh, I did. It just jumped. Sorry. Interesting. I don't know why that would jump. It's not click. Okay, maybe it's just my browser. But singular focus, that's a better headline. I think that could get pulled up to the top, connect somewhere to that craftsmanship that we believe, you know, and there's a whole level of, hey, if we get this wrong, people die, right? We care about this. These are real human hands. Tightening that nut and bolt, that matters. I think there's an opportunity there. We scroll down to career pathways, and I definitely wanted to click this. I love it when companies talk about, when they can, because it's not necessarily applicable for every company, but when they can show this is the progress you're going to make within the company. Nice photo. I'm going to point this out. There's a lot of white audience here. There's a lot of white staff. If we go back to the other photo, almost completely white. So just it, again, I'm not saying everybody has to be diverse in a particular way. I'm just saying this is what's coming across. But here we go. Pilot pathways, all the different kind of pilot roles. I love the graphic kind of showing the, you know, the trajectory of what it takes to be a pilot. I also like that they threw some actual salaries in it. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Anybody, if you can throw salaries into stuff, that's great. I'm a little surprised how low that salary is, but I don't know. Maybe it's not a full-time job. Maybe it's the sort of thing where you can only work 20 hours a week. I don't know. But kudos for putting the dollar figure in there, because this is not a site for me. So I presume someone for whom this site is aimed, that's useful information. Because in general, that's always useful information. But again, good information, could go deeper always, but that's everything can go deeper. But I like the idea of trying something like that, of putting that kind of information out there. Frequent asked questions, find our listing on Glassdoor. Why that's in quotes, I'm not sure, but that's kind of weird. Opportunities for advancement. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the kind of content that you don't need to hide. I'd rather you have it front and center. Don't force a user to click and hunt for what's behind it. Be proud of it. Share it. Put it out there. The site's not too long, right? There's plenty of room to scroll. You got lots of good information. Don't hide your light under a bushel, as they say. So, and then a contact us form. So let's go into, we can look at a job opening real quick just to kind of see what's on the other side of this. We're being redirected. This is pretty common, and it's kicking us out to an ATS I'm not 100% familiar with, but here we are, pretty standard stuff. So with that, let's go over to the LinkedIn platform, because a couple of interesting threads that get connected here. Excuse me. All right. So dynamic aviation, and this is interesting, making a difference for families and communities all over the world. Now, first off, that is a generic statement that anybody could say, but given the industry and what we saw on the corporate site, I'm wondering, who is this channel for? And I'm curious, maybe I've just been employer brand too long and I think everything is an employer brand message. Maybe I'm just that person now, but I don't think that you're making a difference for families and communities for your customers per se. It feels like a recruitment employer brand message. And then you pair that with the banner photo of all those people standing in front of planes. That's how it feels. So I'm psyched. This is a pretty strong employer brand recruitment marketing message platform. I don't know that they paid it off completely. So if I go here to, let's do by recent, here are the posts. If pictures of planes. Wallpaper Wednesday, what's your favorite King Air? They're talking too many hashtags. I think you could probably slim down and still get value. Here's historical flashback Friday, historical photos. It's a lot of wallpaper. It's a lot of pictures of planes. Now, let's be honest, planes are pretty photogenic, right? They're usually really interesting to look at. You know, if I were to take a really interesting photo of what I do, would not compare. Really boring stuff. Planes are kind of cool, especially for people who like planes. I know Boeing does a whole series of content just showing off the work. Like they have a whole series of wallpaper level photos of gorgeous planes flying through the air, sitting on a tarmac, whatever they're doing. They're really proud of those planes, and it shows. Here, I'm getting all these photos, but what happened to making a difference for communities and families? Need parts? Okay, what carries a wide selection of parts? That's a consumer message. I don't know. Do people search for consumer messages about airplanes on LinkedIn? I don't know. I want to look at that. Here we get to the job stuff, and you already know what I'm about to say. The we're hiring, you need to kick that out. Think about the messages you're putting out. You've got pretty planes, cool. You've got craftsmanship, super cool. We're hiring. There's a chance there. There's an opportunity missed. So can you find a way to talk about how you're building these planes? Be one of the people touching jet engines. And obviously, I'm not a copywriter, and that's horrible, but you understand this is the claim. This is the message you should be putting out, because we're hiring only works to someone looking for a job. And I suspect plane mechanics have plenty of jobs. There's plenty of job opportunities. They don't need to know that there's yet another company who's hiring. What they need to know is why you. What is different about you from a Boeing or a wherever, whatever kind of local machine shop or whatever that, competitive set is? How are you different? And I think the raw material is there between the beautiful planes and the beautiful photos and that craftsmanship. There's an opportunity. I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you exactly how to write it, but somewhere you've got a production planner job in Bridgewater, Virginia, and it just says apply today or share this post with your network. There's no what's in it for me. There's no value to me. I'm just doing your bidding because you asked me to. Guess what? It didn't get very far. It got 4 reposts. Not bad, but it could be so much better, so much stronger. Here we've got the visual of we're hiring. I like that they're using photos of actual people doing actual work and not stock art. But listing the positions, there could be a better way to do that. I would also say, and this is a silly kind of thing, but it's a miss. And honestly, I've done stuff like this before in my life and I didn't think it through, but I'm just calling it out there. It's a photo. So I get why they wouldn't want to put the full URL, and you might want to bit.ly it, but there's no way anybody's going to remember that bit.ly. There's no way they're going to type that in and type it in right, because bit.ly is case sensitive and there's so many ways to screw it up. So I would have not put that link in that photo or in that visual. But what probably happened is they're using that visual some other places. They just grabbed it, stuck it in LinkedIn. I get that. I understand that. I forgive it, but just a missed opportunity, things you could do better. Ready to take your career to new heights. I once did work for a tree cutting company, a tree trimming company, a landscaping company. And like my first or second meeting, I said, hey, give me your opinion here, or tell me what you already know that I don't know, which is, if I said, climb new heights of your careers as a tree trimmer, is that so patently obvious everybody uses it, or is it the first time anyone's ever thought of it? And they all went, everybody uses that line. I'm going to suspect everybody in that industry uses that line. So yes, is it better than we're hiring? I guess, but in that industry, it needs to be stepped up. It needs to find a way to talk about why. I mean, you've got good information buried in here. We're not just a company, we're a family that's been the forefront of aviation for years, or forefront of aviation innovation for years. Passionate individuals, looking for key roles in aircraft modification and special missions projects. That's pretty broad, but it's more interesting than are you ready to take your career heights? So I think the raw material is there. It's just not being connected and leveraged nearly as much as it could be. All right. So that's really what I want to cover, so you can see more gorgeous pictures of planes. Obviously a 9/11 situation. What are you flying this weekend? I think that's actually interesting, because there's an assumption that the people they're talking to aren't just plain nerds. They're pilots. Because let's be fair, the pilot community is very kind of interwoven. Like, all pilots know each other, and people who are pilots love to fly. Like, that is their entire world, which, hey, I get it. If I could soar through the sky like that, I'd probably make it my entire world. But conversations like, hey, what are you flying this weekend? That's an interesting conversation starter, and it suggests they understand their audience. And I love that stuff. So, like I said, Dynamic Aviation doing some really interesting stuff, a lot of good raw material, a lot of good messaging they could tap into. It's just a missed opportunity. They could be better at that stuff, that leveraging the resources they have at their disposal, the photos, the history, the people, the work itself. I think they could be tapping into that more strongly to really make that employer brand more attractive, more engaging, and more effective for what they're trying to do. All right, so that was this week's employer brand breakdown. If you have a company you'd like me to break down, just ping me. I'm on LinkedIn. You know my email address. You know how to find me. Like, comment, for example. If you want to see old episodes of this show, they're all on my YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and type in employer brand breakdown, and there they will all be for you to enjoy. So with that, I will see you next week when we come up with another companies whose employer brand we will break down. Thanks, Dynamic Aviation. Like I said, I think you're doing some really interesting work. I hope you got some value out of this, maybe some pointers of where you could go next so that your employer brand can shine. And I hope everybody else got some help for the same thing. So I'll see you next time. Bye.